This time we are back on the hunt at my local car boot. That's because, in my humble opinion, I believe car boots are the best way to build a game collection in 2024.
Game Pickups! Building the Games Room! Road Trips! Live Game Hunting!
Hello again folks and welcome back to another live game hunting video, and this time once again we are hitting up my local car boot. That's because I believe in my heart of hearts car boots are the best way to build a gaming collection in 2024. If you look around at my gaming collection, you can tell it is fairly sizable. And here's the thing, I would say that around 50% of my collection has come either directly from car boots or indirectly from car boots. Either by buying games at car boots or by buying games to flip into CX or eBay to buy other games for my collection. And hopefully this time we can both add some games to the collection and find some stuff to flip into CX. This is how I've built a majority of my collection, hitting up the car boots and buying games for 50p or £1. Games for the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3, even the Wii. You can normally pick these up super cheap, and it's a fantastic way to slowly, over time, build a collection. But not only that, if you know what you're looking for, you can pick up some super cheap games and flip them into CEX. This is what I've done over the years. Pick up games for 50p or £1, which I know trade into CEX for more than that. Essentially, as long as I'm doubling my money on a game, I'm happy to slowly build up my CEX credit and use that credit to buy some of the rarer retro that I really want in my collection. Finally, one thing I love about the car boots is you never know what you're going to find. Over the years, I have found some crazy items at the car boot, and it's not just these filler titles for the PlayStation and the Xbox. You can also find some quality retro. It's all about luck, and let's hope we have some good luck this time. Just before we have the car boot, I want to remind you folks, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. Now, it's early on a Sunday morning, let's hit the car boot. Here we go then, bright and early on a Sunday morning at Arminghall car boot just outside the city of Norwich. And as you can see, the sun is just starting to come up, and it would appear that we were some of the first people here, but unfortunately, this is actually the overflow car park. As the sun was forecast, it was going to be a very busy day. There's already a lot of people here, so without further ado, let's get stuck in on the hunt for video games and awesome retro for the collection. And it did not take us very long to find our first video games of the day, but unfortunately, these were kind of filler PlayStation 2 titles. This is a lot of what you are going to see at the car boot. These very low value games, even though Medal of Honor Frontline for £4 is pretty crazy, but these were just the first video games of the day. And on one of the next stalls, I found some Xbox One games. Now I'm finding more and more Xbox One games at the car boot, which is super cool, as it's a fantastic console to collect for. I did grab one of these games, Alien Isolation. They were asking £4, I managed to haggle them down for £3, and honestly for that game, it's a game I've wanted to play for quite a while. I'm happy to pay £3. One of the main things I would say about car boots is you have to get stuck in. You have to look at every pile of video games. Yes, more often than not, it is filler titles that are basically worthless, but you never know, and it's always worth checking, especially if you have the CX app. Now, I'm not the biggest collector of Funko Pops, but I will always check these out. If it's something I've never seen before, like this Snowman Boba Fett, kind of cool, but not £5 worth of cool, and honestly a bit festive. Another pile of video games here, and like I said, you just have to get stuck in, as you never know what's hiding in these piles. And there was a game I wanted to grab here, Lego Star Wars 3. I think this is a Lego game you don't see very often. I'm slowly filling the gaps in my Xbox 360 collection, and this is one, as a massive fan of the Clone Wars cartoon series that I was sorely missing. I think I grabbed it for £2. Wasn't the best price ever, but happy to have it. One thing which I do see quite often at the car boot is comic books. Now, I know some of these can hold some good value, but unfortunately I don't have the greatest knowledge, so I left these behind this time. Something I do enjoy is board games, but honestly, this Planet of the Apes board game did look a little bit basic, so I did leave it behind. But let me know in the comments down below if there's any of these comics I should have grabbed, whether if they're just cool issues or if any of these held any value. Here's something you don't see very often at the car boots, these gaming PCs. I'm presuming they're gaming PCs. I do not have much knowledge, but they looked pretty impressive. Now, I'm not a gambling man, so I didn't even ask for the price on these, but let me know in the comments down below if you would have taken the risk. Now, of course, when I'm at the Carboot, I am always looking for games which I can pick up cheap to flip into CX for some decent in-store credit. Games such as this, Red Dead Redemption Game of the Year Edition. Now, unfortunately, this was missing one of the discs, so I did pass on this one. But boxes like this are some of the best places to find games cheap that you can flip into CEX for credit. But you just have to get stuck in. And it is knowing which games have decent trading credit, because honestly, 9 times out of 10, a lot of these games now are worth very little in-store credit. Like, for example, Call of Duty Black Ops used to have some decent trading credit, and unfortunately now it has dropped very, very low. But it's always worth keeping on top of the market and keeping an eye on video game prices, as, like I said, they fluctuate all the time, and you never know when you're going to sleep on some which could have got you some decent in-store credit. It's obviously getting harder to find them, but that's the thing. You have to just hunt and hunt and hunt. On to the next door, they had some pretty cool stuff here. So they had kind of a half-boxed PlayStation 1 controller. They had some interesting retro gaming bits. This kind of boxed and complete You're in the Movies for the Xbox 360 was pretty cool. Some retro games here with Menace game for the Mega Drive. Unfortunately, was missing the manual, so I did pass on that one. Now, this next tool, if you were looking for Transformers, you are definitely in the right place. I have never seen this many Transformers in one place. I don't know if this person loved Transformers or suddenly one day just decided they absolutely hated them, but if you were looking for Transformers, they definitely had you covered. Now, here is something you don't see every day at the car boot, but I'm taking full advantage of this. Box and complete Amiga big box games. I absolutely love these just because the artwork is so iconic, and with the bigger boxes you just get more of that absolutely amazing artwork. I managed to bundle 2 of these games together. I think I got 2 of these for either £6 or £7, which is an absolute bargain. I definitely wanted to pick up Aladdin, and I took a bit of a chance on Shadow Fighter. More often than not, you will see boxes like this at the car boot, just stacked full of games. Now, 9 times out of 10, like this time, they are all FIFA games, but it's always worth a hunt, as this is the thing, you never know what's hiding in these boxes. These are normally from house clearances, and any treasure could be hidden here, but unfortunately this time it was all kind of FIFA games. Carboots can be an absolutely amazing place to hunt if you are a VHS collector, as you might come across classics like this one, Enter the Dragon. Just make sure you check to see if there's any mold damage, as if these tapes get moldy, unfortunately it makes them absolutely worthless. Some more video games here, and as you can see they are priced £2 for the Xbox One games and £1.50 for the Xbox 360 games. Now, this wasn't too bad a deal, but unfortunately it was nothing that I needed here personally for my collection, or that at that price we could flip into CEX for any in-store credits, so unfortunately I did pass. But it goes to show you can pick up some cheap bangers. One thing that is always worth keeping an eye out for at the car boots is DVD box sets. Some of these have some absolutely incredible value, and they are definitely worth picking up to flip into CEX. But the thing that caught my eye here was this copy of The Darkness 2 for the Xbox 360, simply because it had a lenticular cover. Now, I am an absolute sucker for these. Unfortunately, we couldn't agree on a price for this one. I think he was asking £3 or £4, which isn't too bad, but I was looking to pick it up for just cheaper. Like I said earlier in the video, I'm a big fan of board games, and this one did intrigue me just because I've never seen a Kojak board game. But once again, like the Planet of the Apes game from earlier on in this episode, it did look a little bit boring, so I did pass. But this is the kind of retro you love to see at the car boot. It's kind of cool, it's kind of weird, it's just sadly not for me. As well as being a fan of board games, I'm an avid Dungeons & Dragons player, and of course if you play D&D you need numerous sets of dice, and at £1 each, of course I had to pick up a couple of these sets of dice, which of course as a D&D player I've already lost somewhere in my house. That's just what happens. This was pretty cool. I love picking up little decorations like this for the games room, and honestly if I can pick up this wireless charger cheap, it's just a useful thing to have around a games room. So let's hope we can pick this up for a fairly cheap price. I reckon anything under £1, I'll grab it. How about your little wireless charger?
£1.
So for £1, you can't go wrong with a wireless charger. This is cool, Rise of the Tomb Raider, the special edition of this game. I did already have it in the collection, and unfortunately I couldn't get it at a price where it would be profitable to grab to flip into CX, so I did leave it behind for another collector. Some more Xbox 360 games here, but sadly nothing I needed for the collection, but it does go to show all of these absolute bangers were priced at £1 each, and if you've just started collecting for the Xbox 360, it's a great way to build your collection. Now here is something I see fairly often at the Carboots, Lego. Now, normally as a rule of thumb, I will not pick these up unless they are sealed. That's because it is very hard to tell if these are complete, but let me know in the comments down below. Is it worth grabbing these, even if you're not sure if they're 100% complete? It'd be interesting if you could let me know in the comments down below, please. Some more cool VHS tapes here, including these very retro looking Star Wars tapes, but I have collected VHS off and on over the years, and unfortunately at the moment I'm not collecting, so I did pass on these. But there was some really cool retro Star Wars stuff here, such as this Return of the Jedi annual, some cool comics, some bits like this, but just nothing I really needed for the collection this time. But I just love digging through boxes like this, as you just never know what you're going to find, such as these kind of cheap books that used to come with magazines back in the day. Again, I did pass on these. This Pokemon Golduck plush was pretty cool, but here's the thing, I'm quite picky with the plushies I pick up for the games room, and I would have picked this up had it been a retro one, but unfortunately this was more modern, so I did pass this time. It was kind of cool, but when it comes to plushies, as I said, I'm very picky, much as like when I pick up wrestling figures. Now I'm slowly starting to build a wrestling figure collection, but again, I'm very picky with these, and I'll only pick up very specific wrestlers which I need for my collection. But there's some really cool retro here. So this is a seller I've met before. I will link his page later on in the video, and he always has some absolutely incredible retro. And more importantly, this comes from his personal collection, so you know it is pre-loved and looked after. Now, I'm a massive fan of collecting for the Master System. I think a lot of people sleep on this console, but there's so many great games for this console. So let's just dig through here and try and find something which I need. I have a fairly sizable Master System collection, but I'm always looking for cool games to add. But when it does come to Master System games, I am normally looking for these boxed and complete. So let's hope we can find something cool, boxed and complete for the collection. Let's have a look then through these boxed Master System games and see if there's anything which is boxed and more importantly complete, which we can add to the collection. Now, over the years, I haven't been quite so picky with aiming for games to be boxed and complete, but with the changes to CEX's pricing recently, it just makes sense now to try and pick up games with the manual. Yes, you can get them cheaper without, but honestly, it's getting harder and harder to find the manuals after buying the games, because it's very rare to see just manuals for sale these days. Now, I hope this one has a manual, as this is a game I've been looking for the Master System for a very long while. Choplifter. It is an absolute classic, so let's hope it's complete with the manual, and more importantly, let's hope we can get this one at a cheap price. It's marked as 10, but I reckon because it's a Carboot, I can haggle it down a little. On that one?
It's got a manual at 7.
7.
That's just a sticker.
Yeah, at £7, that's an absolutely fantastic price. No need to haggle there. But on the next store, I did find some Jurassic Park figures. You got £3 on this one? 4.
That one's brand new.
So that's free.
Oh, was it? What was that? What was that one? Oh, that
This-
one.
I was kind of-
I've got some big ones. £3, yeah.
£3.
I've got some bigger ones. Some bigger ones, did I?
£3 there on a brand new Jurassic World figure is an absolute bargain, and I didn't actually realise how expensive that figure was, so make sure you stick around for the pickups. How much your...
Yeah.
This one?
Oh, 50p, mate.
50p. And another absolute bargain there, 50p for a PC CD-ROM game. You don't see them very often these days, and honestly, if I can pick them up cheap, I'm always going to add them to the collection. This was cool, some Star Wars micro machines, but unfortunately none of these were complete. Some more games here, including a Nintendo DS. But here's the thing, when I see handhelds at the Carboot, I am very apprehensive to pick these up if they don't turn on at the time. Yes, I know most of the time people will say they've just run out of charge, but unless I can see them working, I'm probably going to pass on them, which is a shame, because if you can get these at a good price, you can trade them into CX for some good credit. We're coming to the end of the Carboot, and hopefully here we have my final pickups of the day. Like I said at the start of this video, the Carboots are a fantastic way to build a collection for the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3, the Xbox and the Xbox 360. I have built up sizable collections for these consoles by picking up games like this cheap. There we have it then, folks. That was an amazing day of hunting at my local Carboot, and we managed to add some amazing bits to the collection on a budget, and that is what the Carboot is all about. Building a collection on a budget. But one last thing, we needed to grab some snacks for my brand new pet dinosaur. Now let's take it back to the games room for these bargain pickups. Here we are then, back in the games room after another awesome hunt at my local car boot. Now unfortunately this time we didn't find anything to flip into CEX for that sweet in-store credit, but fear not, we still have some amazing bits to add to the collection. Our first pickup is a game for the Xbox One. It's this game right here, Alien Isolation. And here's the thing, I paid £3 for this game, which is a little bit more than I'd normally pay for a game at the car boot. But here's the thing, if I'd bought this game from CEX, it would have set me back £6. So honestly, if I can grab it for £3 at the car boot, I'm happy to get it for half the CEX price. As I said at the start of this video, I have built a majority of my collection by picking up games cheap at the car boot. Games such as this one, Lego Star Wars 3. Now I picked this up for £2 at the car boot, which again is a little bit more than I would normally spend, but this game at the moment is going for £5 at CEX. Here's the thing with the car boots, you can pick up games like this so much cheaper than it would be to pick them up at CEX, and honestly, it's just a cheap way to build a gaming collection. But the car boots aren't just full of modern games. If you get lucky, you may stumble across some retro games. Games such as this for the Amiga. Here we have Shadow Fighter, and this is boxed and complete. And just look at the artwork on this one. I absolutely love the Amiga big box games just because of the absolutely incredible artwork. This one is boxed and complete and in absolutely fantastic condition. And here's the thing, when you are collecting retro at the car boot, it is all about condition. And I managed to pick up this and one other Amiga game for just £7. And the other Amiga game I managed to pick up is this absolute banger, Disney's Aladdin. And just look at this price tag on the back, £20.49. But this was from an absolute golden age of Disney games. Games like this, Disney's Aladdin, were hard as nails platformers, but they were absolutely fantastic games. And it truly was a golden age for Disney video games. But when it comes to building a games room, it's not just all about video games, it's all about decorations. And I've bought many decorations from Carboots over the years. This might not be to everyone's cup of tea, but I could not resist picking up this wireless charger for just £1. Because honestly, we all need to charge our phones, and what better way to do it than with this retro-inspired wireless charger. Next up, we have an absolute retro banger, which I picked up off a fellow collector who also resells at my local car boot, Arminghall. Go and check out his page on Facebook, Console77. He is often selling at Arminghall, and he has some absolute bangers for sale, such as this game right here, Choplifter for the Sega Master System. This is, of course, boxed and complete, and I paid just £7 for this game. I believe the Sega Master System is a console which way too many people sleep on. So many people collect for the NES, which is much more expensive to collect for. And honestly, there are so many bangers on the Master System, and most of the time, they are super cheap. So do not sleep on this incredible retro console. If you only take away one piece of advice from this video today, let it be this. I remember seeing this on a small YouTube channel called Metal Jesus many years ago, and this piece of advice has stuck with me for years, and it is a mantra by which I live when it comes to video game collecting. When everyone is going right, you go left, which essentially boils down to this. When everyone else is collecting something else, you go the opposite way. I have done this for years. When everyone was collecting Super Nintendo, I was collecting Mega Drive. When everyone was collecting NES, I was collecting Master System. When everyone was collecting for the more random consoles like the Dreamcast, the Sega Saturn, I was going for the PlayStation 1 games. Essentially, I will try and collect what everyone else isn't, and more often than not, this is a much cheaper way to build a gaming collection. Back to the pickups, and if you didn't know, as well as a video game collector, I'm an avid collector of retro and modern toys, and one of my favourite franchises to collect for is the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World franchise. And when I saw this Dimetrodon figure for just £3, I knew I had to pick it up, as honestly, as well as bargain video games, you can also get some bargain retro and modern toys at your local car boot. Now, I love the weird and the wonderful side of retro game collecting, and one thing which I love collecting is PC CD-ROM games. So for 50p, I had to pick up this copy of Colin McRae Rally. Now, of course, I do prefer big box PC games, but they take up a lot of space, are hard to find, and honestly, when it comes to building a game collection, sometimes space can be at a premium. Which brings us on to our final pickups this time, and this is literally the bread and butter of game collecting for me when it comes to the Carboots. £1 Xbox 360 games, games such as this one, Virtua Tennis 2009 and Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. Both of these were just £1 each. Both of these games are only £1 in CEX, but here's the thing. Over the years, I have built nearly 500 games in my Xbox 360 collection by picking up games like this for 50p or £1, and it slowly builds an absolutely incredible gaming collection. And as the Xbox 360 slowly becomes more and more retro, these games are only going to get harder to find and more expensive. So this could be one of the final times this summer to really boost your Xbox 360 collection at your local car boot. There we have it then, folks. These are today's pickups from my local car boot. So I spent a grand total of £25. And we have a little bit of everything. We have some retro games, some more modern games, some collectibles, even some toys. And for £25, this is how I've slowly built my collection over the years, hitting up my local car boots. And fear not, all this summer I'm going to be continuing the hunt at the car boots and slowly building my amazing game collection. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and until next time, keep playing the game. See you soon.